Hey, it's Kaero. Welcome back to this next episode of Generating and Rating Artificial Intelligence Generated Magic Cards. The rating scale is 10, absolute bomb, crushing. 0, absolutely unplayable. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up, liking and subscribing and sharing the video. Without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we have Flowstone High Tide Bridge. Now, this is lowercase Flowstone, uppercase High Tide Bridge, 1 blue, 3 generic mana for a human wizard, but also a bridge. Power and toughness 1/1. It has flying, and you can tap it to draw a card. But for 4 mana, not very good. I'm going to rate this probably like a 4. What is the flavor text? There are many things I can't begin to describe. You know what I can't begin to describe, honestly? That. It's a human wizard bridge. And for that reason, it actually gets rated an 11 because I can't describe it. The bridge itself can't describe it to you. So it's an 11 out of 10 for flavor. I love it. Next up, we have Lanoir Wastes. This is colorless. It's a land. Tap to add 1 colorless mana. Or tap 2 colorless mana, tap it, sacrifice Lanoir Waste, create 2 1/1 green beast creature tokens. This is actually very cool of the AI. So when we think of Lanoir, we think of green, we think of ramp due to Lanoir elves, but this is Lanoir wastes, meaning that if it's a waste, it doesn't produce any color of mana. Definitely not green. This is impressive on the AI's part for making this wastes produce colorless mana. What's the flavor text? It fights with the cold wave of magic that is more intense in the forest of the Lanoir wastes. So what do we think about this land? It doesn't come in tapped, and if you're running, you could run this in a monocolored deck where you don't need like a ton of different lands, or your mana base doesn't have to be very tight. And then you can pay 2 colorless mana, create 2 1/1 green beasts. If you have some sort of synergy that when creatures enter the battlefield, you could get some sort of effect off of this. I think it's pretty good. It's definitely a build around card though, right? And I don't know. Maybe in control, this is actually very cool too. Because having 2 chump blockers, say they have a massive creature without trample, just being able to sacrifice one of your lands and pay 2 mana at any time to create 2 1/1s. I don't know. Let me know what you think about this card in the comments. I'm going to give this like a. I think this is pretty good. I'm going to give this like a 6 or a 7. Next up, another colorless card, Cauldron Grimwire, but it's also a pot. It's okay, so it's a cauldron, but it's also a book. 4 generic mana artifact. Tap 1 generic mana, tap it, exile target exile target player, creature or planeswalker. If that player or planeswalker is exiled this turn, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So first of all, it's exile target player, creature, or planeswalker. But then if the player or planeswalker is exiled, it comes back. If it's a creature, it doesn't. So you can tap 1 just to exile any creature you want and it never comes back. And the fact that you can exile a target player means maybe at your local game store you play this on turn 4, turn 5, you tap 1 mana, you exile them, you go outside. Josh, you're exiled from the battlefield. Go outside, have a cigarette, have a drink, whatever, and then at the beginning at the beginning of my end step, you can come back inside. So if we're actually going to rate this, let's put the player thing aside. Let's say creature or planeswalker. This is quite good because if you have a creature with an enter the battlefield effect, having something that can just exile it and then bring it back and then trigger the ETB again is very good, especially planeswalkers. You can take down a planeswalker, pay 1 every turn, bring them back in, and then they're refreshed on their loyalty. I think this is probably a 7 or an 8. But exiling Josh is where it's at. Next up, we have Old Rutstein. All right, so this is from Midnight Hunt or Crimson Vow? I can't remember. But the Old Rutstein is a Golgari card, but this one's red. So it's 1 red, 1 generic for a human creature. It's 1/1, and you can pay 1 colorless and 1 red and tap it and add 2 red to your mana pool. So if you have different colored mana and you want to just make it all red, this version of Old Rutstein is for you. Say you're like, you know what? I'm running Naya, but I really want 2 red. Like, this is the opposite of mana fixing, right? What's the flavor text? Let the fire fist fall silent. This time we will not let it harm us. Volrath Embereth. Alright, so this is obviously like a 1, right? It's technically playable. You would never want this, though. Is there a way that you would want this? Let me know in the comments. But if you're just going to play mono red, just play mono red. There's no reason to play more colors and then mana fix into just mono red. But that is actually really funny. So I'm going to say the flavor it makes it 11 out of 10. Okay, here we have Coatl Bogart Wreckage. 1 red, 3 generic. A Goblin Warrior, 3/3 for 4. Not too bad. Whenever Coatl Bogart Wreckage attacks, each other attacking creature blocks it this combat if able. Let me read that again. Whenever Coatl Bogart Wreckage attacks, each other attacking creature blocks it this combat if able. But they would never be able. So they can't. But it's an ability. I mean, so is this is a red 4 mana 3/3 vanilla creature, basically? What's the flavor text? He sees all the humans in the city, so it can no longer smell their breath. Okay, this is like a 2, but yeah, I don't think that's possible. Next up, another colorless card. Urzas A.I really likes the colorless cards tonight. So Imperial Flower, 1 generic mana. It's an artifact. Tap it to add a colorless mana. So it's a 1 mana rock. It also you can pay 1 generic mana and tap it and sacrifice it to draw a card. This is pretty good. All right, turn 1, in some formats, there's not a lot to do anyway. If you play this and then turn 2, you have access to 3 mana. You can use it to ramp, and then you can also use it later whenever you're done ramping. You can sack it to draw a card. This is great. What's the flavor text? The noble tears shed at the end of the battle, symbolizing death. Yeah, I think this is very good. This is a 9 or a 10. Let me know what you think or how you'd use it in the comments. That's 9 or a 10 for me. Next, we have Casting Sparks. 1 red, 2 generic for an instant. Casting Sparks deals 3 damage to target creature with flying. Yeah, this is really bad. This is a worse Broken Wings, and that can be cast in green. Whenever we're talking about playing red, we want to be able to destroy things with burn unconditionally. So paying 3 to do 3 damage to a target creature with flying, you can pay 1 in some formats with Lightning Bolt to deal 3 damage to any creature. Sometimes, more commonly you'll pay 2 to do that damage, but like this is a terrible card. This is like I think this is probably a 0. Like, because there are so many better red burn spells. The flavor text is, once the curse has been broken, that's it. No more hours of searching. Well, I'm going to tell you this right now. We're done searching for burn, because it's definitely not this one. This is a 0. Here we have Sacellum Leviathan, something like that. 2 blue, 2 generic for a Leviathan creature. It's a 3/4 with flash. Not a horrible rate. It has echo, though. So yeah, flashing this in for 4 and then so you have to pay 7 for this over the course of 2 turns, or you have to sacrifice it. It's not good. It's like a 1. What's the flavor text? The flavor text is, your brains are already as sick as my own. And then the person who said that was, exert a pressure of will to the flesh. All right, so I'm thinking a couple is looking forward to having their baby. Their baby is born. Their parents are holding it, and the baby says, your brains are already as sick as my own. And at that very moment, the doctor comes in. The doctor says, what are you naming your baby? And the couple proudly says, I think we're going to name the baby Exert a Pressure of Will to the Flesh. And that's how you have this card. So, there you go. Flavor's 11 out of 10. Card is a 1 out of 10. Next is Garrick's Insight, which is a blue card. If you don't know, Garrick is a green planeswalker. Thanks for the subscribe. Didn't know I had that turned on. 1 blue, 3 generic. This is a blue Garrick card. At instant, tap target creature. It doesn't untap until its controller's next untap step. And the art looks like Garrick. That is incredible. I love that Garrick has a blue card. It might be Garruk, I don't know. But the flavor is the winds of destiny are prophecies, not guarantees. Eriquist, trapper of Izzet's wellspring. You know what? This is Garrick just being like, you know what? I spend a lot of time in the gym, but that doesn't mean that I'm all brawn. I got brains too. Let me show you a little bit of my insight. I would love to see like a Simic Garrick, green and blue. That would be awesome. Card's not good. Love the art though, because it does look like Garrick. Okay, here we have Banisher's Kiss with a super realistic art in here. Almost to the point of creepy. 1 black, 3 generic, and instant. Destroy target creature with mana value 3 or less. It can't be regenerated. Nah, it's way too much for this effect. But look at that art. That's totally like some sort of 1950s like noir art. It almost looks real. What's the flavor text? Only it knows what a true warmonger is capable of. Volrath. That art creeps me out for some reason. It's like a sepia tone. It almost looks kind of real. The guy has like on a collared shirt and like a suit, and it's wild. Yeah, it's not good. It's like a 1. But the art is awesome. The fact that it linked Banisher's Kiss up with someone, 2 people kissing, and one of them is the Banisher. Who's the Banisher? We don't know. Let me know. Okay, last card of the video. Martyrs Banner. 2 generic artifact. Whenever Martyrs Banner becomes the target of a spell or ability, that spell or ability's controller sacrifices it. So if it's a target of one of your spells or abilities, you have to sacrifice the Martyrs Banner. But if it's a target of an opponent's spell or ability, they can't sacrifice it because they don't control it. Is there any way that this could be useful? Maybe something that triggers off how many artifacts went into your graveyard this turn, or something about like bring an artifact back and then trying to like do some combo or something. I'm not sure. Seems pretty worthless to me. What's the flavor text? Sometimes a spell or ability will be fine until it's put into a graveyard when it no longer has a single purpose. So are you telling me, Martyrs Banner, that the Martyrs Banner or the spell or ability that targeted it is fine until it's put into a graveyard and then it doesn't have a purpose? That's fantastic. That's a hell of a way to end the video. Yeah, I can't find a use for this card, but the flavor is 11 out of 10. That concludes this episode of Rating AI Generated Magic Cards. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit that thumbs up for me if you did. Consider subscribing for future episodes. And thanks for sharing, and I hope you have a great day.